host, Rebecca, aka Crafting Journey, and I am going to be diamond painting while I tell you about the Michael Keatley, the Ice Cream Man case. So, I've turned off the light pad so you can see what I've done so far. I have no idea what this is. This is all ABs in here, so it's really gorgeous. Don't know what the heck it is. I'm thinking maybe some kind of sea creature. The theme is fantasy, I know that much, and I also know that the artist is Sheena Pike, but I have no idea other than that. But look how pretty. So there's so much confetti right in here. Like, I still have a whole bunch more colors to add. There's holes all in this that I've got to fill in. It's not it's almost done, but I'm still working on it. So last night I did a live Craft With Me Wednesday where I switch up and do other crafts. Last night I did watercolor painting. Oh my God, I just love watercolor painting. I should do it more often so I get good at it, but I had fun last night. I was trying out a new set of watercolors that I bought from Craftably, and they were tubes, and I'm not used to using tubes. I usually use half pans, but I really enjoy the vibrancy of the colors, and so I'm going off on a tangent here. Also, I am going to be doing a second series. It'll be a separate show where I will be covering a serial killer trial that is going on in the UK. It is a nurse who is charged with 7 murders and 10 attempted murders. So because it involves children, it will be a separate series. So look forward to that. It's a long trial. It's been going on since November, and it is still going on and expected not to end. The prosecution has not even finished their case yet in chief. So, and there are some differences from UK, the legal system, and our legal system. Not a lot of differences, but some differences. So, and I'm going to talk about all that for you. So stay tuned for that. FedEx is here. Yay. Speedy delivery. Okay, so we're talking about Michael Keatley, the Ice Cream Man. As you recall, in January of 2010, he was robbed on his ice cream route, or actually he had ended his route, gassed up his truck, on his way home for a date. Someone flags him down. He thinks they want ice cream. They rob him of $12. Police have testified that he said it was 2 black men and a black woman. However, word on the street in the area where he was the ice cream man and where he lived, Ruskin, which is just south of Tampa in Hillsborough County, word on the street that it was involved a man named Creeper, who he comes to find out lives on Ocean Mist Drive. So he is on trial for an attack that occurred on Ocean Mist Drive on the morning of Thanksgiving, 11 months later, 11 months after his robbery. There's an attack. 2 men are killed, Juan and Sergio Gitron, and 4 other men are injured but survive. So he is charged with their murders. He has already been tried for this once, and the jury could not make a decision. There were 10 people in favor of not guilty and 2 people wanted guilty. So it was a hung jury and they had to try the case again. Now, I know that the attorneys are all different. Different prosecutors now, different defense attorneys, but the judge is the same. And I really like this judge. So day 3 yesterday, we get to hear from 2 crime scene investigators. These crime scene investigators went out to Michael Keatley's home, and it was a team, and they split up the property. At the time, this was 12 years ago. At the time, the crime scene investigators were called detectives. So these detectives, they split it up, and they went out and searched the property for evidence of this shooting. And what they found was a notebook inside of Michael Keatley's home. Inside the notebook, it said Creeper, and it had an Ocean Mist address on it. And as you recall, the attacks occurred on Ocean Mist Drive. So that's interesting evidence. Now, I will tell you that Creeper did live on Ocean Mist Drive, but not at the house where the attack occurred. He lived a couple houses down. So was this mistaken address? Did he just go to the wrong house that night? I don't know. Okay, now, so after the crime scene investigators take the stand, we get a couple of the victims. Now, we've already heard from one victim yesterday. Now, today we hear from Richard Cantu. He takes the stand. Sweet, sweet man, but he does not remember a thing. He said that that night he was shot in the head, and he points to here, and he points back here. And something was wrong with his hand. I don't know if that was related to the shooting because they didn't ask, and he has no memory of it. And I also didn't find out if it went in here and if it was two separate shots or it was one shot that went in and came out or went in and came out. Don't know. It's probably not relevant. But he was shot in the head and he doesn't remember it. So he was off the stand, on and off the stand, less than 5 minutes. Quickest witness ever in the history of witnesses. I need to know what FedEx brought me. Be right back. I got a new diamond painting. Yeah, show that to you guys later. All right, where were we? Okay, so the next, oh, where were we? Also, Richard Cantu, he did testify that Sergio and Juan were his cousins. You know that much. Okay, so the next person on the stand was Gonzalo Guevara. He said Juan and Sergio were like brothers to him. Now, Gonzalo cuts hair for a living, and he had been on his feet all day up until 9 o'clock-ish. Now, the times, I'm going to mention times because they did, but they just don't add up to me, the times. And it happened 12, 13 years ago, so people probably are not remembering correctly. So he was cutting hair that day. Sergio had actually been there for a haircut that earlier during the day. He didn't want to go out that night. He's kind of tired, but Sergio kept bugging him and finally talked him into it. So Sergio comes to pick him up in his blue Dodge Charger. Now, we've been looking at a picture of the house at 604 Ocean Mist, and I think it was more like a trailer at 604 Ocean Mist Drive, and there is a blue Charger in that picture. So this was Sergio's vehicle. So when he picks him up, there's a guy named Walter in the car. Now, Walter is the person that actually lived at 604 Ocean Mist Drive. That was where he was residing. He gets in the vehicle, and up until this point, he has not had any alcohol, hasn't had any drugs. So they stop at the Sunoco, and they pick up an 18-pack of Corona, and they start drinking. Then they head over to a body shop where a friend of theirs is having a barbecue. So they're not there for very long, you know. They stay and they talk for a little bit, and then they all get in the car and they go back over to 604 Ocean Mist, where they're talking and they're drinking, and some people are doing marijuana and they're playing poker. And they said they're not being loud. They don't have any music on. They're just having a little get together. So then they decide they're going to go back out and get some more beer. So Sergio, and Walter go in Sergio's car to the Circle K. Then they stop at Circle K. They get another 18-pack of Corona, start drinking that. Then they decide they're going to go get some cocaine. A gram of cocaine, $50 worth of cocaine. Now, he doesn't remember where they got it. I don't remember. Sergio's friend. Don't know him. Never met him. And Sergio went into a house to make the transaction. So he didn't see the transaction and doesn't remember where it was. Don't know. But then I found out that there's something called, I'm so naive when it comes to drugs. I really am. There's something called a bump. And I'm like, what the heck is that? So a bump apparently is when you put some cocaine on a key and you put it to your nose and you snort it. And a gram of cocaine is about no, it was about 24 bumps. And Gonzalo, what is his name? Gonzalo says he had about 4 bumps that night. One in the car on the way back to 604 Ocean Mist Drive, and 3 more while they're playing cards and doing their get together. So he describes that during this get together, there were several individuals who were drinking, doing cocaine, and doing marijuana. Something else I learned about marijuana, they brought blunts, and I'm like, okay, what's a blunt? Don't know. So apparently they take cigarettes and they take the tobacco out of the cigarette and they put marijuana in it and smoke it. Okay. So they arrive back at Ocean Mist just before midnight, and then everybody else gets there. That's when several more people come at that point. Richard, Juan, and Ramon, they all get there. And as you recall, Ramon testified, and he said he was not drinking. And this guy corroborated that. He said, no, Ramon, he never partook. It was his lifestyle choice. He didn't do drugs. He would drink, but he didn't do drugs. So he described that there was a guy named Daniel who was drinking, doing marijuana, and the cocaine. Sergio was doing all 3. Jose Rodriguez was doing all 3, and himself. But he was not doing any marijuana. He was just doing the cocaine and the drinking. Okay. So now, and the purpose of getting all that testimony in is to show the jury that, could he really identify this guy with all that on board? I don't know. And he admitted, yeah, it was really dark. He said there was a street light down the street, but it was very dim. And so, they had the porch light on, so that was well lit, but out into the parking lot or the parking area where everybody was parked was pretty dark. So he said at some point while they were playing poker, they all kind of notice, because it's late, it's late, early morning, late at night, this vehicle drives by. They said it was a dark minivan that drives by and he's playing some loud music. Then he starts talking about describing the murders. And he said it happened, he did admit, yes, it did happen very quickly. But for me, it went by very slowly. He says, I remember it slow because that's just the way, he said, for me, it seemed like it took forever. So what he remembers is that there was a dark figure approaching. This dark figure had a shirt on that said sheriff, because the sheriff was in yellow or white lettering that was reflective. That's the reason he was able to see it. And the guy the figure had a small shotgun, maybe 10 to 12 inches, in his left hand, and in his right hand had something shiny. He thought it was a badge because he saw the sheriff, and then he said it was a shiny object, and he thought it was a badge that he had in his hand. He described this figure as being very large, probably 280 to 300 pounds, tall guy, and out of shape, not large in shape, but out of shape, fat guy. And he says, I know cops like that. So that didn't dissuade him from this being perhaps a cop, because he's seen fat cops before. But the next thing he described was he remembers that there was a shot up in the air, but the guy did it with his right hand. Now, he does not remember the guy transferring the gun from his left hand to his right hand. He didn't see that, but he's sticking with his statement that when he was approaching, he had the gun in his left hand, and then when he shot it up in the air, it was with his right hand. And then he tells them all to get down on your knees and take out your ID. And then He doesn't remember if anybody was cleaning up the drugs off the table. Doesn't remember any of that. But he just remembers the guy says, get down on your knees. So he gets down on his knees, and he said they were all yelling, hey, get the F out of here. What are you doing? And they're all arguing with the guy, and he starts shooting. Now, Gonzalo is shot 4 times. He doesn't remember 3 of the 4 shots. He remembers the first shot went into his hand. He was able to escape and get into the house, but he had been shot a total of 4 times. So he was taken to the hospital. He was interviewed at the hospital. He was in and out of consciousness, but he says he was never shown any photos at the hospital until later on, once he regained consciousness. Then a detective comes in and shows him a photo lineup. So he does admit on cross-examination that he had told several individuals that the figure that was approaching had orangish brown hair. Now, during his testimony yesterday, he kept saying it was grayish brown, but back 13 years ago, he said orangish brown. And then he also admitted that he was familiar with the ice cream man, Michael Keatley, that he did not make any purchases from Michael Keatley, but he said he would be present on his porch when his friend, what is his name? Jose Rodriguez would frequently purchase from Michael Keatley, or one of his kids would purchase from the ice cream man. So he had seen him from a distance of maybe 15 feet, wherever the truck stops to where he was sitting on the porch. So he had seen Michael Keatley before. And he said it was well known in the community that Michael Keatley, the ice cream man, had been robbed. And he even went to the AutoZone once, and there was a jar with a picture of Michael Keatley on the jar, where they were raising money for Michael Keatley, and he made a donation. He and Jose made donations to the guy. He said, who would do that to someone over $14? It was 12, but he said 14. Who would do that to someone? So he felt bad for the guy. So he did make donations to Michael Keatley. The purpose of all this is to say that he knew what Michael Keatley looked like. He knew he was the ice cream man. He had made donations to his, fund to recover from the robbery. But in the hospital, after he regains consciousness, he is shown a photo lineup, and he picks out initially photo number 4. There's 4 pictures. But photo number 4 was not Michael Keatley. Then he later says, no, I didn't mean number 4. I meant this photo here. And it's a photo of Michael Keatley. But the photo says number 3 on it, not number 4. He doesn't remember if there were numbers on it when he saw him. He goes, all I know is the photo. This is the photo of the guy that shot me. I see that photo in my sleep. I am sure that that's the person that shot me. And he's pointing to Michael Keatley's photo, the ice cream man. Yeah. And he was not wavering from that on the stand at all. Yeah, he was quite sure that he had been shot by Michael Keatley. The thing is, he doesn't, when he arrives at the hospital, he doesn't say, hey, I was shot by the ice cream man. I don't know. So in any case, that's where the testimony ended yesterday. No drama yesterday. It was a drama-less day. Thank goodness. Sidebars continued. Sidebar. I hate sidebars. I really hate. I loathe them. I really do. And as a spectator, I loathe them. Now, when you're an attorney, you're involved in the sidebar, so it's not a big deal to you. But when you're a juror or you're somebody that's just watching this trial, you're like, oh, not again. Now we got to sit here for 10 minutes or 15 minutes or 20 minutes or, whatever, and, listen to the noise. So that's the case so far. Please don't forget to... I said I was going to do the calendar. Yes, let's do the calendar. Because I do have a sex trafficking one today. Let's talk about it. This is going to be in multiple parts. over the next few days. So part 1, the crime. 11-year-old Sarah Cruzan was walking home from school when 33-year-old George Gilbert Howard picked her up and began grooming her for sex work. That's terrible. He presented himself as a father figure for Cruzan, whose own father was in jail, but he soon began sexually assaulting her. 2 years later, he began trafficking her, and 3 years after that, in March 1994, 16-year-old Cruzan killed him. Cruzan was arrested in Pomona, California, and confessed. Despite the extenuating circumstances around the killing, the district attorney pushed for a first-degree murder charge. Cruzan's case can be handled by the juvenile court system. The prosecutor convinced a judge to allow the Cruzan be charged and tried as an adult. The abuse Howard inflicted on her was not admitted into evidence during the trial, and Cruzan was ordered by the court not to speak of it. On May 11, 1995, Cruzan was found guilty of first-degree murder and sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole. I'm trying not to peek at tomorrow's, because that's horrible. What in the world? Oh my God. What was that judge thinking? Oh my gosh. Terrible set of circumstances. Okay, no, I'm not going to peek at tomorrow's. Yes, I'm not going to peek. Because we want to, hopefully it turns out better than that. Okay, guys, if you enjoyed the content, don't forget to hit that thumbs up. It helps YouTube figure out who the heck Crafting Journey is. Yeah, and consider subscribing. Also, if you're already subscribed, consider becoming a member of the channel. You can do that for as little as $1.99 a month, and your donation goes to help to support the content of the channel. Like the diamond painting I just got in the mail. Should I open it? No. You'll know why I went in my live on Sunday. I'll show it in my live on Sunday. I'll unbox it during the live on Sunday. So you'll get to see it. I promise. All right, guys. Have a great Thursday, and I will see you in the next episode of Crafting and Crime Daily. Look for the new series. The name of the nurse is Lucy Letby. Look for that, and I'll see you guys later. Bye.